A note to our readers. Some stories find us when we need them most. This is one of those stories about two German shepherds who taught a family that love doesn't count the cost, and that the broken pieces of our lives can still fit together in beautiful ways. It's about a teacher named Emma who thought she'd buried her past. Until one rainy October night, when two pairs of frightened eyes reminded her that some wounds never fully heal. They just wait for the right moment to teach us something we desperately needed to learn. This isn't a tale about perfection. It's about survival, second chances, and the quiet courage it takes to open your heart when everything inside you says it's safer to stay closed. If you've ever loved something you were terrified to lose, or if you've ever wondered whether one person can really make a difference in this world, well, this story is for you. Emma's headlights swept across the alley behind Miller's old hardware store, and for a split second, she almost kept driving. The rain had that particular Oregon smell, wet concrete mixed with pine sap from the mountains, the kind that settles deep in your lungs on October nights. Her wipers beat their steady rhythm across the windshield. Thump squeak, thump squeak. Hypnotic after 8 hours of parent-teacher conferences. Mrs. Patterson going on about her son's penmanship. Mr. Sullivan questioning why his daughter couldn't sit still during silent reading. Parents who meant well but didn't understand that she was doing her best with 29 fourth graders, a broken pencil sharpener, and a heating system that only worked on Tuesdays. She should go home. Daniel would have supper waiting, probably that chicken casserole he'd been perfecting, the one with the crispy breadcrumb topping. Lily would be tucked in bed by now, their neighbor Margaret sitting in the living room with her knitting, keeping watch the way good neighbors do. But something in that alley moved. Not the skittering tumble of a newspaper caught in wind, not a cat hunting rats behind the dumpster. Something deliberate. Something that made Emma's foot find the brake before her mind caught up. Her Civic idled at the mouth of the alley, engine ticking, heat blowing from the vents but doing nothing against the cold that had already settled in her bones. She killed the engine, grabbed her phone from the cup holder. The flashlight app newfangled thing her daughter had shown her how to use cut through the darkness when she tapped it. The cold hit like a slap when she opened the car door. Wet air. Heavy. The kind that soaked through your coat and found every gap in your clothing. Emma stepped into the alley, phone held high. Water pooled between broken pavement, reflecting her light back in jagged patterns. 5 feet ahead. The shapes took form. Dogs. 2 German shepherds pressed together like they'd been born that way. Like God himself had fused them into one creature, because separation would mean certain death. The smaller one shook. Not the casual shake of a wet animal, but full body trembling that Emma could see even through the rain. The larger dog had wrapped herself around the smaller one, a living shield. A wall between her sister and whatever fresh horror the world might bring. Emma took one step closer. Her shoe splashed in a puddle. Both dogs flinched backward as though she'd struck them. She froze, held her breath, stood so still that the rain running down her face felt like tears she hadn't earned yet. Their ribs showed through coats matted with mud and filth. The smaller one wouldn't look up, face buried deep in the larger dog's neck, hiding from a world that had proven itself cruel. But the larger one watched Emma with eyes that held something worse than fear. Recognition. This dog knew what hands could do. She'd seen them before. Knew the weight of fists, the sting of boots, the casual cruelty humans dispensed without thought. Emma extended her hand, slowly. Palm down the way her grandmother had taught her 50 years ago. Back when dogs still roamed free in Alabama neighborhoods and children learned respect for God's creatures. "I'm not going to hurt you," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the rain drumming on dumpster lids. The larger dog made a sound that stopped Emma's heart. Not a growl. Not a whimper. Something caught between them, a plea formed in a throat that had forgotten how to ask for mercy. The sound a soul makes when begging is all it has left, and it doesn't even believe the begging will work. Emma knew that sound. She'd made it herself once. Age 9. Locked in her bedroom closet while her father's boots thundered through the house. While Sophie, 3 years younger, so much smaller, hid behind Emma's dresses. The sound you make when you're too young to understand why love comes with fists attached. Too desperate to care. Her hand shook. The phone's light wavered, casting dancing shadows across brick walls tagged with graffiti she couldn't read. She looked closer now, forcing herself to see what she'd almost driven past. The larger dog's muzzle crisscrossed with cuts still healing, pink flesh visible through broken skin. The smaller dog's left hind leg swollen to twice its size, held at an angle that spoke of pain beyond endurance. And around both their necks no collars now, but the fur there grew different. Scar tissue in perfect bands. The kind of marks that come from chains worn too tight for too long. Metal biting through skin and hair, until neither could remember what freedom felt like. Emma's knees hit wet asphalt. She didn't decide to kneel. Her body just folded, brought low by the weight of what she was seeing. "Dear Lord," she breathed. Not a curse. A prayer. "What did they do to you?" The dogs didn't move, didn't trust. Just watched with eyes that had stopped hoping for rescue weeks, maybe months ago. Rain soaked through Emma's jeans, cold water seeping into fabric, finding skin, turning everything numb. Her phone battery showed 12%. She should call someone official, animal control, the police, people with badges and authority and the right kind of knowledge. But her thumb found Daniel's number instead. He answered on the second ring, voice warm with the comfort of home. Everything all right? I found them." Her voice came out strange, thick, like speaking through water. "The ones who need us." 3 years of marriage had taught Daniel to read her silences, to hear the tremor beneath her words when past and present collided in her chest. "Where are you?" "Hemlock and 3rd, behind Miller's old place." She paused, watched the 2 dogs shaking in the rain. "Bring the van, and some of that turkey from supper. And blankets, the heavy ones." "How bad is it?" Emma looked at these 2 souls pressed together, starving, terrified, too broken to even beg properly. "Bad enough that I won't leave them here. Not for anything." 20 minutes. The line went dead with a soft click. Emma lowered herself all the way to the ground, sat on cold, filthy pavement in her good teaching clothes, the navy slacks she'd ironed that morning, the white blouse that would never come clean again. She didn't care. Made herself small, non-threatening. Just a woman sitting in the rain, offering nothing but presence. The larger dog's ears twitched, listening, calculating with whatever survival instinct had kept her alive this long, trying to sort this human from the ones who'd hurt her, trying to believe that maybe, just maybe, this time could be different. Emma started talking, not to persuade, not to coax, just to fill the silence with something softer than rain on metal. "My name's Emma Rodriguez. I teach 4th grade over at Riverside Elementary. Been there 11 years now." Her voice steady despite the cold. "I've got a daughter, Lily. She's 5 years old. Sweetest thing you ever saw. Used to talk a blue streak could wear your ear off about butterflies and clouds and why the sky changes colors." She paused, swallowed against the tightness in her throat. "She doesn't talk anymore. Hasn't said a word in 6 months. The doctors call it trauma. Selective mutism. Fancy words for a little girl who saw something so terrible that words just left her. The rain kept falling. The dogs stayed motionless except for that constant trembling. I had a sister once. Sophie. I used to protect her. Stand between her and our daddy when he came home with whiskey on his breath and rage in his fists. I thought I could save her if I just tried hard enough, if I just loved her enough. Emma's voice cracked. She didn't try to hide it. But I couldn't. And now she's gone and I'm still here, and some days I don't know why, except... She looked at these two dogs who'd survived the unspeakable, who'd stayed together when the world tried to tear them apart, who still chose each other even when choosing meant suffering together. Except maybe so I could find you tonight. Maybe that's the reason. The smaller dog lifted her head. Just an inch. Just enough to see Emma with one dark eye before burying her face again in her sister's neck. The smallest progress. But still progress. Headlights swept across the alley entrance, bright and sudden. Daniel's clinic van, white with Cedar Valley Animal Hospital, painted on the side in green letters. He backed in slow, careful not to spook the dogs, and killed the engine. Stepped out carrying supplies, fleece blankets that still smelled like fabric softener, a collapsible water bowl, sliced turkey wrapped in butcher paper from their supper table. He moved quiet as snow, the way he'd learned in 8 years of veterinary practice. Knelt beside Emma without a word, set everything down gentle as prayer. "Hey," he whispered, not to the dogs, to his wife. "You're soaked clear through. They won't eat while we're watching. Then we won't watch." Daniel set the water bowl 10 feet from the dogs, filled it from a bottle that had been sitting in the van's cup holder, laid out turkey slices on a clean towel, good meat, still warm from their kitchen. Then he and Emma retreated to the van's open back doors, sat on the bumper with a blanket around both their shoulders, watching without watching. Present without pressing. The rain kept its steady drumbeat. The dogs stayed frozen. Emma checked her phone. 12:07 a.m. Lily would be asleep by now, safe in her bed with Margaret dozing in the rocking chair nearby. Their neighbor had been a blessing these past 6 months, showing up without asking, sitting with Lily when Emma and Daniel needed a moment to breathe, offering the kind of help that doesn't need thanks because that's just what neighbors do. "How long do we wait?" Daniel asked quietly. Emma watched those two shapes in the darkness, still pressed together, still afraid to believe in kindness. "As long as the good Lord gives us." 90 minutes passed. The rain slowed to a drizzle, then to mist, then to just the drip, drip, drip from awnings and gutters. Emma's teeth chattered. Daniel wrapped the blanket tighter around them both. Neither spoke, just sat in that comfortable silence that comes from years of knowing each other's hearts. At 1:34 a.m., the larger dog moved, just her head at first, lifting slow like it weighed more than her neck could bear, sniffing the air, testing the wind for danger. She rose, each movement careful, painful, limped 3 steps toward the water bowl on legs that barely held her, stopped, looked back at her sister. The smaller one whimpered, a sound so thin and heartbreaking that Emma had to press her fist against her mouth. The larger dog returned, positioned herself just so, got her shoulder under the smaller dog's chest, and half carried, half dragged her those 3 feet to the bowl. Emma's vision blurred, not from rain. The smaller dog drank first, long, desperate pulls that spoke of days, maybe a week without water, her throat working, her whole body shaking with the effort. Only after the smaller one finished did the larger dog drink, and even then, just enough to wet her tongue before she turned to the turkey. The smaller dog ate 3 pieces, slow, careful, like she'd forgotten how food worked. The larger one ate 2 pieces, then stopped, used her nose to push the remaining slices toward her sister. Daniel's hand found Emma's in the darkness, squeezed once. "They're sisters," Emma said. Not a question, a recognition of something she understood in her bones. "Yes," Daniel agreed. "They are." Getting them into the van took another hour. An hour of patience and coaxing and Emma lying flat on her stomach on cold metal, making herself as small and harmless as possible. But eventually, finally, the larger dog limped up the ramp. And because she went. Because she chose to trust. The smaller one followed. They collapsed inside against the far wall, immediately reforming that familiar huddle, 2 bodies becoming one, safety in proximity. Daniel closed the doors with barely a sound, started the engine, drove through empty streets toward home, taking corners, gentle as carrying eggs. Emma twisted in her seat, watching through the partition. The larger dog watched back with eyes that still expected betrayal, still waited for the moment when kindness would reveal itself as just another kind of cruelty. "We should name them," Emma said softly. Daniel glanced at her, then back at the road. "You already know their names, don't you?" Emma did. Had known from the moment she saw them in that alley, choosing each other over everything else. Survival through love. "Luna," she said, nodding toward the larger dog. "For the one who protects." "And Stella," Daniel finished. "For the one who's protected." Emma turned back around, closed her eyes, let the van's heater work its slow magic on her frozen fingers. Behind her in the darkness, 2 German shepherds who'd forgotten what safety felt like made a choice. A leap of faith no bigger than a mustard seed. But sometimes that's all it takes. They stopped shaking, just for a moment. But mercy starts with moments. And sometimes moments are enough. Before we continue, please leave a like and subscribe. Let me know which city you're watching from. Now, let's get back to the story. The tile floor pressed cold through Emma's jeans, that deep in the bone cold that no amount of dry clothes could fix. She'd changed into her old sweats, the gray ones with paint stains from when they'd repainted Lily's room last spring. But the chill from that alley hadn't left her. Luna and Stella wedged themselves behind the guest bathroom toilet. Luna faced outward, body angled to intercept anything coming through the door. Stella kept her face buried in her sister's neck, refusing to look at this new world they'd entered. Emma sat cross-legged on the floor, 5 feet back, gave them space. Just breathed and waited while the house settled around them, the refrigerator's old hum from the kitchen. Rain still pattering against windows, the faint creak of floorboards upstairs where Margaret slept in the guest room near Lily's door. Daniel knelt beside the dogs, hands visible, palms up where they could see. "Just going to check that leg, girl. Won't touch yet. Just looking." His voice carried the same patience he used with Lily when she woke from nightmares, the ones she couldn't explain anymore because words had left her 6 months back. April 28th, Morrison Park. Lily tossing breadcrumbs to ducks while Emma graded papers on a bench. Then tires squealing, metal crunching, the wet sound of impact. A man stumbling from the wreckage, blood streaming down his face, his white shirt turned crimson. Lily screamed until something in her throat just closed. Then silence. Nothing but silence, ever since. 3 different doctors. Dr. Pratt with her hand puppets and gentle questions. Dr. Rashid with his sandbox and tiny plastic figures. Nothing had worked. Emma watched Daniel's hands hover over Stella's swollen leg, not touching, just mapping the damage from an inch away. The same way Emma's hands had hovered over Sophie's coffin 8 years ago, afraid that touching would somehow make the nightmare real instead of just a terrible dream. Sophie, dead in a car wrapped around a telephone pole on Route 26. Her boyfriend drunk behind the wheel, running from their daddy's rage at 1 a.m. Emma safe in a college dorm 2 hours away while her baby sister Luna's growl pulled her back. Low, steady. A warning. Daniel had moved too close to Stella. Emma shifted forward onto her knees, extended her wrist the way Grandma Dixon had taught her back in Alabama. Let them smell your pulse. Read your heartbeat. Know calm from fear. That's your sister, Emma whispered. I understand. I had one too. Luna's growl stopped. The house breathed around them, the old furnace kicking on. Margaret's soft snoring from upstairs. The smell of wet dog mixing with the lavender soap Emma kept by the sink. Daniel managed to hide a pill and a cheese slice pain medication for the swelling. Stella swallowed it whole, too hungry to question gifts. We need x-rays come morning, Daniel said quietly. And an ultrasound. That swelling, there's something hard underneath. I know. Emma pulled a pillow from the hall closet, lay down on cold tile that smelled faintly of bleach and years of cleaning. Daniel brought their camping sleeping bag, stretched out beside her. The bathroom light stayed on. Luna wouldn't tolerate darkness. At 3 a.m, Emma woke to whimpering. Stella trying to shift position, her leg refusing to cooperate. Luna immediately repositioned herself, licked her sister's muzzle, then used her nose to push the water bowl closer. Stella drank. 4 laps. 5. Luna waited until Stella finished before drinking herself. 3 laps. Then stopped. The bowl still half full. Emma watched through barely open eyes. Counted heartbeats instead of seconds. Recognized something she'd seen before. Sophie pushing food across the dinner table when Daddy wasn't looking. Taking smaller portions. Going hungry so Emma wouldn't have to. At 5:30, something cold and wet touched Emma's knuckles. Her breath caught. Luna stood 3 feet away, neck stretched forward, nose pressed against Emma's hand. One slow lick across her fingers. Then Luna backed away, returned to her sister's side. Emma's hand stayed outstretched on the cold tile. Her fingers trembled not from temperature. Upstairs, a door creaked open. Small footsteps on the stairs. Bare feet on hardwood. Emma's heart kicked against her ribs. Lily never came downstairs alone. Not since April. Not since the accident stole her voice and replaced it with silence. But those footsteps kept coming. Closer. Closer. And Emma realized she had no idea what would happen when her silent daughter met 2 broken dogs who'd forgotten how to trust. Lily stood in the bathroom doorway wearing her purple nightgown, the one with little butterflies Emma had bought at the church rummage sale last spring. Her bare feet made no sound on the cold tile, hair tangled from sleep, sticking up in places that would need a wet comb come morning. She didn't make a sound, hadn't made a sound in 182 days. But her presence filled that small bathroom like someone had opened a window and let fresh air rush in. Luna's head lifted, ears forward, alert but not afraid. Something curious flickered in those dark eyes. Recognition, maybe. Or just the understanding that this small human carried no threat. Emma's hand found the signal she'd been using since Lily was 2-finger pressed to lips. Hush now. Lily understood. Lowered herself to sitting. cross-legged. Right there in the hallway, 10 feet from the bathroom door, her stuffed rabbit dangled from one hand, the purple one missing an ear. Loved nearly to pieces over 5 years of bedtimes and bad dreams. Stella still wouldn't look up. Face pressed deep into Luna's neck like she could disappear there if she just tried hard enough. But Luna watched this small person with the careful attention of someone who'd learned to read danger in the smallest gestures. Lily just sat. Didn't reach out. Didn't try to touch. Just existed in the same space. Breathing the same air that smelled like wet dog and lavender soap and the faint coffee scent still clinging to Daniel's shirt from yesterday. Emma's throat went tight. Her daughter hadn't left her bedroom alone in 6 months, not since Morrison Park. Not since the nightmares started, the ones where Lily woke up screaming without sound, thrashing in tangled sheets while Emma held her and sang hymns from her own childhood until the terror passed. Daniel shifted beside Emma, careful not to disturb whatever fragile thing was building in this small bathroom. 7 o'clock light crept through the window above the toilet. Gray October morning, rain still coming down steady, the kind that soaked into Oregon soil and stayed there until spring. Lily's stomach growled. She pressed a hand against it but didn't move. Didn't break her silent vigil with these two creatures who understood what it meant to be afraid. Emma mouthed to Daniel, "I'll get breakfast." She rose slow, every joint protesting a night on tile floor. In the kitchen, she cracked 4 eggs into a bowl, the brown ones from the farmer's market, the kind that tasted like eggs used to taste when she was a girl. Whisked them with a fork. Poured them into a cast-iron skillet that had been her grandmother's, listening to the sizzle and pop that meant home. That meant normal. That meant maybe things could be all right. She plated scrambled eggs on Lily's favorite dish, the plastic one with sections for different foods, purple like everything else her daughter loved. When Emma returned, Lily had moved closer, 6 feet from the bathroom door now instead of 10. Emma set the plate beside her daughter. Lily ate without looking away from the dogs, fork to mouth, steady and mechanical, chewing, swallowing. Eyes locked on Luna and Stella like they held answers to questions she couldn't ask. Daniel had his phone out, checking the clinic schedule. "I need to bring them in today. That leg won't wait. I know. And whatever's causing that swelling could be a stone. Could be worse." Emma knew what worse meant. The kind of worse that required surgery and money they didn't have extra of and decisions that would need making soon. After hours, Emma said, "When everyone's gone, no other animals, no noise to spook them." Daniel nodded. 9 tonight. I'll have Sarah leave the back door unlocked." The morning stretched out like taffy. Emma called Riverside Elementary, left a message for Principal Morrison about a family emergency. First sick day she'd taken in 3 years. Lily brought her cereal bowl to the hallway floor. Ate there, legs crossed, eyes never leaving those 2 dogs. Then her coloring books. She lined up crayons by color purple first, always purple, then blue, then green, and drew picture after picture while Emma watched from the kitchen doorway. The pictures were all the same. 2 dogs, side by side, touching. Around noon, Luna stood, limped to the water bowl on 3 legs, the 4th held up and trembling. Drank 3 small laps, then used her muzzle to push the bowl toward Stella, inch by careful inch across tile floor. Stella lifted her head for the first time since they'd arrived. One dark eye visible, wet and frightened. She drank in long pulls that said her body was eating itself from the inside. Desperate for water it hadn't had in days. Emma's chest went tight. 4 days without water. Maybe 5. How long had they been out there in that alley before she'd found them? How long had they been invisible to everyone who passed by? Lily set down her purple crayon, picked up a graham cracker from the pile of snacks Emma had put beside her, broke off a corner piece, small as a dime, rolled it across the tile toward Luna. The cracker stopped 2 feet from Luna's nose. Luna sniffed it. Didn't eat. Instead, she picked it up, gentle in her teeth, so careful, like it was made of glass, carried it to Stella, and dropped it right in front of her sister's face. Stella ate it. 1 small bite. Lily broke off another piece, rolled it. Luna repeated the same dance, carried it to Stella, waited while Stella ate. On the 3rd piece, Luna ate it herself, then immediately went to Stella and licked her face. Long strokes like she was saying, "It's all right. I'm still here. We're still together." Lily's shoulders started shaking. Emma moved toward her daughter. But then she heard it. Soft as a breath. Barely there. The first words in 182 days. The big one takes care of the little one. Emma's knees hit the floor hard enough to bruise. Daniel's phone clattered from his hand onto the tile. Luna's tail moved. Just once. Just barely. But it moved. Lily turned to look at her mother, tears streaming down her 5-year-old face, making tracks through sleep dust and the chocolate from yesterday that Emma hadn't quite scrubbed off. Mouth forming words that had been locked away so long, Emma had stopped believing they'd ever come back. "Mama," Lily whispered. "They're sisters. Like you and Aunt Sophie." The air left Emma's lungs, because Lily had never met Sophie. Sophie died in 2018, 2 years before Lily was born. Emma had never told her daughter about having a sister, about losing her, about the closet and the fear and the car wrapped around a telephone pole because sometimes the past was too heavy to share with someone so small. "How do you?" Emma started. But Lily just pointed at Luna and Stella, pressed together in their corner, choosing each other over safety, over comfort, over everything else that might make survival easier. "I can see it," Lily said, and Emma understood. Her daughter wasn't talking about what she knew. She was talking about what she recognized. The way some souls just understand other souls without needing explanations. The way brokenness speaks to brokenness in languages that don't need words. And Emma realized that maybe, just maybe, these 2 starving dogs hadn't needed rescuing at all. Maybe they'd been sent. Daniel called the clinic from the kitchen, voice low and urgent through the wall. Emma heard him rearranging his whole Saturday: Mrs. Patterson's tabby cat, Mr. Sullivan's beagle with the ear infection, all of them bumped to next week. "Sarah, I need the building empty by 8:30 tonight. No exceptions. No. Can't explain now. Just trust me on this." Lily sat in that hallway all morning, singing. Not loud, barely above a whisper, but her voice moved through the house like water finding its way through cracks, filling spaces that had been dry too long. "You are my sunshine, my only sunshine." The same song Emma's mama had sung to her in Alabama. Back before Daddy's drinking turned mean, back when home meant safety instead of survival. Luna's ears tracked every note. Stella had lifted her head now, resting it on Luna's back. Both of them watching this small human who'd somehow found her voice by seeing theirs. Emma washed breakfast dishes at the sink, suds and hot water, the mechanical rhythm of scrubbing egg off plates, but her mind stayed in that hallway, replaying Lily's words over and over like a record skipping. "They're sisters. Like you. And Aunt Sophie." Daniel appeared in the kitchen doorway, dark circles under his eyes from sleeping on bathroom tile. The look on his face, the one he wore when he had to tell folks their pet's time was coming soon. "What is it?" Emma's hands went still in the dishwater. I need to examine them proper. Today, that leg Stella can barely stand on it. And whatever I felt last night. He ran a hand through his hair, making it stick up in all directions. It's hard. Not moving. That's not good. What does that mean? Could be a kidney stone, could be a tumor. Won't know until I get images. The word hung between them like smoke. Tumor. She's half starved, Emma said. They both are. How can you operate? Can't. Not yet. But I need to know what we're dealing with. These things don't wait politely. 9 o'clock that night. Daniel backed the clinic van up to their front door. Getting Luna and Stella into it took an hour that felt like 3. The dogs wouldn't separate. When Daniel tried guiding Luna toward the van's ramp, Stella made a sound high and thin like a saw cutting metal that brought Luna right back to her side. Finally, they moved together. Luna bearing most of Stella's weight, Stella hopping on 3 legs. By the time they collapsed in the van's cargo area, all 4 of them were shaking dogs from fear, humans from the weight of what they were asking these traumatized creatures to trust. Lily climbed in without being told. Daniel started to object. She goes, Emma said. The tone in her voice left no room for argument. The drive to Cedar Valley Animal Hospital took 15 minutes through empty streets. Lily sang the whole way. Quiet. Continuous. You are my sunshine on repeat until the words stopped meaning anything and became just sound. Just comfort. Just presence. The clinic sat dark except for exam room 3. Daniel had left the lights on low, no harsh fluorescence. Just the soft glow that didn't hurt eyes or trigger memories of bad places. Getting the dogs from van to exam room took another 40 minutes of patience and coaxing and Lily's small hand on Luna's head, whispering things Emma couldn't quite hear. Inside, Sarah had left the ultrasound machine ready, the kind on wheels with a screen that tilted. Daniel powered it on. The hum filled the room, mechanical, clinical. Nothing like the soft sounds of home they'd been building. Stella's breathing went shallow, fast. Her eyes showed too much white. Luna positioned herself between Stella and Daniel. Not growling. Just, no. Not this. Not again. I need to see what's wrong. Daniel said quietly to the dog like she could understand English. I need to help her, girl. Luna didn't budge. Emma knelt 3 feet away, extended her wrist, let Luna smell her pulse through thin skin. He won't hurt her, Emma whispered, praying it was true. I promise. The lie sat bitter on her tongue because hurt was coming regardless. Needles, maybe surgery. Pain before healing, that's how these things worked. Luna's growl started low, rumbling up from her chest. Lily walked straight up to that 100-pound dog. No hesitation. Put her small hand right on Luna's head between her ears. It's okay, Lily said, her voice stronger than it had been in 6 months. He's good, like you're good. Luna's growl stopped. Lily kept her hand there, stroking gentle. You can trust him. I do. Something shifted in Luna's eyes, some calculation finishing. She stepped aside. Daniel moved fast before the moment broke. Squirted gel on Stella's swollen belly. Pressed the ultrasound wand against her skin. Gentle as touching a newborn. Emma watched the monitor over his shoulder. Gray and black shapes that meant nothing to her. Fluid. Tissue. Shadows that could be anything. Then there. A white mass. Bright against the darkness. Edges irregular like gravel. Oh, Lord. Daniel breathed. Not a curse. A prayer. The stone sat in Stella's bladder, 22 millimeters across according to the numbers Daniel pulled up on screen. Size of a marble. Big enough to block. Big enough to kill if it moved wrong. Kidney stone, he said. And look. He shifted the wand. Bladder walls thickened. She's been living with this for months. Chronic pain. Infection. Emma's stomach dropped through the floor. Surgery. Has to be. Soon, stone moves into the ureter and blocks it. He didn't finish. Didn't need to. Emma understood. Blockage meant kidney failure, meant death. When, next Thursday, October 26th, I'll clear everything else. He paused, pulled up test results on the computer. But, Em, we've got another problem. Numbers filled the screen. Lab values. Emma couldn't decipher. But Daniel's face told her everything she needed to know. They're both malnourished, severe protein deficiency, dehydration off the charts. He scrolled down. This here stomach contents from Stella's vomit sample earlier. Grass, dirt, one piece of bread so moldy it had spores growing. How long since they ate real food? 4 days minimum, maybe 5. Emma looked at the dogs huddled in the corner. Luna's ribs like fingers pressing through her coat. Stella barely able to hold her head up. 5 days without food, living on streets, surviving on whatever scraps they could find in dumpsters. And yet Luna had given Stella every bite, had starved herself to keep her sister alive one more day, one more hour, one more minute. Daniel pulled Emma aside, voice dropping low. There's something else. Stella's stomach had more content than Luna's, and Luna's stomach is basically empty except for grass. Meaning Luna found food somewhere and gave it all to Stella. Ate nothing herself. He met her eyes. Emma. She was slowly dying to save her sister. The room spun. Emma's vision narrowed to those 2 dogs. Sisters who'd chosen each other over their own survival. The same way Sophie had chosen Emma, standing between her and Daddy's fists. Taking blows meant for a younger, smaller body. Protecting until there was nothing left of herself to give. We operate Thursday, Emma said. Her voice came out flat. Whatever it costs. The surgery alone is going to run. I don't care what it costs. Daniel nodded slowly. Started powering down the ultrasound machine. The screen going dark. Lily had curled up beside Luna and Stella on the exam room floor. All 3 of them in a pile like they'd been doing it their whole lives. Lily's small body tucked against Luna's warm side. Stella's head resting heavy on Lily's lap. We should head home, Daniel said. She's got church tomorrow. But when he tried to separate them, Lily from the dogs, Lily's face crumpled. No words this time. Just that look Emma hadn't seen since April. Since the accident. Pure terror. She stays with them, Emma heard herself say. Daniel looked at her like she'd lost her mind. It's almost midnight. She needs to feel safe. Right now. They make her feel safe. So they brought sleeping bags from the van, spread them on clinic linoleum that smelled like antiseptic and years of sick animals. All 5 of them spending the night in exam room 3 under lights. Daniel dimmed as low as they'd go. At 3 in the morning. Emma woke to Lily's whisper. Mama? Yeah, baby. Is Stella going to die? The question hung in the dark. Emma couldn't lie. Wouldn't lie. Not about this. I don't know. Silence. Then, Luna won't let her. Emma looked at the 2 dogs curled together even in sleep. Luna's body wrapped protective around her sister. No. Emma agreed. Luna won't let her. But deep in her chest where old wounds lived and festered, Emma knew a truth she couldn't speak aloud. Sometimes love wasn't enough to stop death from coming. She'd learned that lesson when Sophie's car hit that telephone pole doing 70 in a 35 zone, and she was terrified, bone-deep, soul-sick terrified that these two dogs were about to teach Lily the same thing. October 26th, 6 in the morning, surgery day. Emma stood in their living room holding a dog carrier, the kind meant for shepherds. Big enough that Lily could crawl inside if she wanted. Daniel was trying to coax Stella toward it while Luna stood between them like a living wall. The morning smelled like coffee from the pot Daniel had made at 5, strong and bitter the way he liked it when he needed to stay sharp. Outside, rain tapped against windows in that steady organ rhythm that meant winter was coming whether folks were ready or not. "Luna," Daniel said, quiet as Sunday morning. "She's gotta go. Girl. She'll die if we don't do this." Luna didn't move, just stood there with her body low, not threatening but immovable as old oak. Stella whimpered behind her sister. The sound came out thin and reedy, pain leaking through it like water through a cracked dam. Daniel reached for Stella's collar, the soft blue one they'd bought at the feed store. Nothing like the scars on her neck, and Luna's teeth showed. First time since they'd brought her home. A warning. Clear as church bells. Emma set the carrier down. "Bring them both. Em, I can't have Luna in the surgery room. Then put her where she can see. But we're not tearing them apart." 20 minutes later, both dogs were in the van, Luna supporting Stella's weight, both of them shaking hard enough that Emma could hear their bodies trembling. At the clinic, Daniel set up Luna in the observation room, small space with a window looking into the surgery suite. Luna pressed her nose against that glass and didn't move, didn't even blink. Sarah Jenkins brought water in a metal bowl. Luna wouldn't drink, brought liver treats that usually worked on the most stubborn dogs. Luna wouldn't even look at them, just kept her eyes fixed on that window like if she looked away for 1 second, her sister would disappear forever. Emma watched from the observation room doorway as Daniel prepped Stella for surgery, the mask going over her muzzle, the IV line snaking into her foreleg where Sarah had shaved away fur. Stella's breathing slowing, until she went limp on that cold metal table. Luna's whole body went rigid. A sound came from her throat, not quite howl, not quite whine. Grief looking for a way out and finding none. 90 minutes. That's what Daniel had said. Emma stayed with Luna, sat on linoleum that smelled like bleach and sick animals, and the particular sadness of a place where folks brought creatures they loved and sometimes left without them. Didn't touch the dog, didn't speak, just existed in that same terrified space. Through the glass, Daniel made the first cut, 4 inches, clean and sure, blood welling up red. Sarah dabbing with white gauze that turned pink, then red, then got tossed in a bin for things that couldn't be saved. Luna's legs trembled. She wouldn't sit, wouldn't lie down. Just stood there watching her sister get cut open, unable to understand that sometimes you had to hurt something to heal it. At minute 47, Daniel lifted something from Stella's belly with silver forceps, dropped it in a metal tray with a sound like a pebble hitting a tin roof. The kidney stone, 22 millimeters of mineral and pain that had been scraping Stella's insides for Lord knew how long. Sarah held it up to the light, even through the glass. Emma could see the jagged edges, sharp as broken glass, sharp enough to kill if it moved wrong. Daniel sutured the bladder closed, then the muscle, then skin. 16 stitches total, each one placed with the kind of care that made Emma's throat go tight. By the time Stella was breathing steady in recovery, Luna had been standing 93 minutes without rest. Daniel opened the door between rooms. Luna bolted through like her tail was on fire. Went straight to Stella and started licking her face, her paws, the shaved patch on her belly where stitches pulled skin tight. Sarah tried setting up a cot. "You staying the night, Dr. Rodriguez?" "Yes, ma'am." He glanced at Emma. "You should take Lily home. She's got school tomorrow." "We'll be back at 8. That evening, Emma and Lily returned with blankets and Daniel's clean shirt for tomorrow. Found him on the floor beside both dogs, all three in a pile. Luna still positioned between Stella and the door, still protecting even here. Lily climbed into the pile without asking, tucked herself against Luna's warm side, started singing that sunshine song. For the first time in 6 hours, Luna's tail moved. 2 days later, October 28th, Daniel posted photos on the clinic's Facebook page. Stella in recovery, the incision visible, Luna refusing to leave. Lily curled between them with her purple rabbit. He wrote, "2 German shepherds teaching us what love looks like. Stella's surgery successful. Luna never left her side." By noon, the post had 200 shares. Folks from Portland to Eugene passing it along, adding their own stories of loyal dogs and second chances. By evening, 2,000 people had seen it. October 30th, 2:14 in the afternoon. Daniel's phone rang during a routine checkup. Mrs. Patterson's cat having trouble with the litter box again. Sarah took the call in the front office, transferred it to Daniel's private line. He excused himself. Left Mrs. Patterson holding her annoyed tabby. The woman on the phone said her name was Margaret Hayes, 68 years old, used to work at the county library before she retired. Saw the Facebook photos that morning. "I recognize those dogs," she said. Her voice shook like leaves in wind. "I called animal control 4 times. They never came." Daniel grabbed a pen, started writing on the back of a prescription pad. "Where did you see them, ma'am?" 4782 Hemlock Road. "In the kennel behind the house. That man who lives there, Travis Boone, he kept them outside all year. I heard them crying during the ice storm last January. It got down to 18 degrees and they had nothing. No shelter. No bedding. Just that chain-link cage." Daniel's hand tightened on the pen hard enough to leave marks. "When did you last see them?" "September 20th. Then they were just gone. I thought he'd—" Her voice broke clean in two. "I thought he'd killed them and buried them somewhere." She told him everything. Boone's work address at Discount Auto on Powell Boulevard. His schedule usually left for work around 7. Got home around 6 unless he stopped at Hannigan's bar first. The times she'd seen him throw a bag of dog food over the fence maybe twice a week if the dogs were lucky. The sounds that had kept her up nights. Crying that turned to howling that turned to silence. And the silence was somehow worse. "I should have done more," Margaret said. "Should have climbed that fence myself and taken them." Daniel thanked her, hung up, stood in his office, staring at the notes he'd scribbled. Then he called Emma. Emma called Oregon Humane Society on her lunch break. Sitting in her car in the Riverside Elementary parking lot while 4th graders played kickball on wet grass. Asked for an investigator. Got transferred 3 times before reaching a woman named Claire Bennett. Claire listened, took her own notes, asked for medical records, photos, Margaret Hayes's contact information. "I can visit the property tomorrow," Claire said, "but I'll need police with me. Can't enter private property alone." "When?" "Tomorrow morning, 10 o'clock. November 2nd, 10 in the morning." Claire Bennett and Officer Grant Mitchell drove to 4782 Hemlock Road in separate vehicles, Claire in her OHS van, Mitchell in his patrol car. The property sat in a part of town where businesses had given up and moved out. Gravel lots, chain-link fences, the smell of diesel and rust and years of things breaking down without being fixed. No one home. Boone's truck gone. They walked the perimeter, found the kennel and back. 10 by 10 feet. Chain link on all sides. No roof. No shelter from rain or sun or the kind of cold that came off the mountains in winter. Water bowls frozen solid even though the day had warmed to 42 degrees. Feces in the corner. Layered. Months of it left to pile up and rot. The smell hit them from 6 feet away, sharp and sour and wrong. And there, near the fence post, a chain, embedded in hard dirt. Rust eating the links, the same width as the scars on Luna's neck. Officer Mitchell took photographs, measurements, scraped soil samples into plastic bags. Claire filed the complaint before she'd even left the property. November 3rd, 4 in the afternoon. Police found Travis Boone at work, grease under his fingernails, cigarette smoke clinging to his coveralls. Officer Mitchell served him the notice, explained about the investigation. Boone's first words, "Those dogs ran off. Good riddance. They were mean as snakes anyway." 5 seconds later, "Wait, I want them back. I paid good money for those dogs. $1,200 each. They're in medical custody currently. Don't care. They're my property. Law says so." That evening, Emma's phone rang. Unknown number. She almost sent it to voicemail. "Mrs. Rodriguez, this is Nathan Cross, Assistant District Attorney. I'm handling the investigation into Mr. Boone." Emma's pulse kicked up. "Yes, sir. He's within his legal rights to reclaim those dogs unless you formally adopt them, or we get a court order based on cruelty charges. But judges take their time with these things." "How much time?" "Could be weeks, and could be months." Emma looked through the kitchen window. Luna and Stella in the backyard, running. Well, Luna running. Stella hobbling but trying. First time since surgery that Stella had moved faster than a slow walk. Lily chasing them both, laughing. Actually laughing. "If he gets them back," Emma started. "I know," Nathan said. "We'll fight this. But you need to understand right now, the law still says they belong to him." Emma hung up, stood in her kitchen with the smell of supper cooking pot roast in the oven, the way Mama used to make it. Thought about Sophie, about standing between her and Daddy's fists and it never being enough. And understood something that made her hands go cold. The law didn't care about love. It cared about ownership. And Travis Boone owned Luna and Stella the same way he'd owned that chain rusting in the dirt. Unless she could prove otherwise. But how do you prove love to people who only speak in receipts and property rights? November 5th, 10:17 in the morning. Emma was grading spelling tests at her kitchen table. Tommy Sullivan's paper with "receive" spelled wrong for the 3rd week running when Daniel's text came through. "He's here. Police with him." Her red pen stopped mid-correction. She grabbed her keys. The drive to Cedar Valley took 8 minutes. Emma's hands locked on the steering wheel so tight her knuckles went bone white. She pulled into the lot and saw the truck immediately rust eating the wheel wells. Passenger door dented in, bumper sticker too faded to read. Inside the waiting room sat 6 people. Mrs. Anderson with her Persian cat in a carrier. Mr. Sullivan with his beagle on a short leash. Sarah behind the desk, phone pressed to her ear. Officer Grant Mitchell in uniform, hand resting easy on his belt. Daniel near the hallway that led to the exam rooms. And a man Emma had never seen before but knew in her bones. 6'2". Tattoos running down both arms like ink spilled and left to dry. Oil under his fingernails. The smell coming off him cigarette smoke and motor oil and something sour that made Emma's stomach turn. Travis Boone. He turned when she walked in. Looked her up and down with eyes that measured value and found none worth noticing. You the ones got my dogs. Emma's jaw clenched so hard her teeth ached. They're recovering from surgery. Don't care. They're mine. Got papers to prove it. Daniel stepped forward. Stella had major surgery 8 days ago. She's still healing. Not my problem. Boone pulled folded papers from his back pocket. Receipts. Purchase records dated June 2022. See this $1,200 each. That's my property you're keeping from me. The word hit Emma like a fist. Property, like Luna and Stella, were furniture someone had borrowed without asking. You starved them. Boone laughed sharp and mean. I fed them plenty. Not my fault they were picky eaters. Stella had a kidney stone the size of a shooter marble. From not getting water. Dogs get sick. That's just life. Daniel's voice went flat. Professional. We have medical records documenting chronic neglect. And I got receipts showing I bought them legal. Law says they're mine. So hand them over or I'll sue every one of you. Officer Mitchell moved between them. Boots heavy on the linoleum floor. This goes through Animal Court, November 18th. Both parties need to be present. Boone smirked, pulled truck keys from his pocket, jingled them once. Fine by me. See you then. He turned toward the door, stopped halfway. Oh, they're gonna remember me when they see me. Might not be so happy with you folks anymore once they figure out who really owns them. Emma's fists clenched, nails cutting half-moons into her palms. Then a sound from the back hallway, a door opening, hinges creaking. Lily appeared in the doorway wearing her purple jacket, the one with butterflies stitched on the pockets. Sneakers with laces Emma had double-knotted that morning. Emma had brought her because Margaret couldn't watch her today. Had told her to stay in back with Luna and Stella. But Lily walked straight toward this man who smelled like old smoke and bad intentions. Stopped 2 feet away. Looked up at him with eyes that had seen blood on pavement 6 months ago. Had lost words because some things were too terrible for speaking. You hurt them, Lily whispered. Boone laughed again. Kids got some imagination. Luna told me. Her eyes told me. Dogs don't talk, little girl. Lily's voice got quieter, steadier. She didn't need to. She turned, walked back down that hallway, door closing soft behind her. Emma found her 10 minutes later in the recovery room, face buried in Luna's fur, shoulders shaking with sobs that made no sound. Luna licked Lily's tears, long, patient strokes, the same way she'd comforted Stella after surgery, the same way she'd comforted Emma that first night, the only comfort Luna knew how to give. Emma sat on the floor, put her arm around her daughter, felt the trembling that started deep in Lily's chest and worked its way out through her whole small body. We won't let him take them, Emma said. Lily lifted her head, eyes red and wet. Promise. Emma looked at Luna and Stella, at the trust in their eyes that had been so hard-won, so fragile, so easily broken. I promise. The lie tasted like pennies on her tongue. November 6th through 15th. Ran together like watercolors in rain. Nathan Cross, former military lawyer, 41 years old. Built like someone who'd done hard things and survived them, reviewed everything they had. Medical records from Daniel. Crime scene photos from Claire Bennett. Margaret Hayes' written testimony about the kennel. The crying. That ice storm when temperatures dropped and kept dropping. November 10th. Nathan came to their house. Sat at the kitchen table while Lily played in the backyard with Luna and Stella. All three visible through the window. Here's our challenge, Nathan said, spreading papers across the table where Emma had been rolling out pie dough an hour before. Boone hasn't been convicted of anything yet. Complaints? Yes, but no criminal record. Emma stared at the evidence. Photos of that kennel. The chain. Water bowls frozen solid. What about the medical records? Daniel asked. The malnutrition, the kidney stone, those collar scars. Any decent lawyer will argue the dogs got sick after they ran away. He'll say he reported them missing even though he didn't, and claim he's been looking for them this whole time. That's a lie, Emma said. Yes, ma'am. But it's a lie that's hard to disprove in court. Nathan saw Lily's drawing stuck to the refrigerator with a magnet shaped like Oregon. 2 dogs with their heads touching. Purple hearts all around them. Words in careful first-grade printing, sisters forever. He stared at it for a long moment. I'll do everything I can, he finally said. But the judge will want proof of immediate danger, not just past neglect. Something that shows he intends to harm them now. What kind of proof? The kind most folks don't leave lying around. November 12th. Daniel was going through the clinic's security footage, checking it weekly ever since that vet clinic across town got broken into last month. He found November 8th, 2:47 in the morning. Travis Boone's pickup circling the parking lot. Once, twice, 3 times slow. Boone getting out. Trying the front door. Locked. Walking around the building. Hands cupped against windows to see inside. Checking the back door. Also locked. Standing there in the security light for 18 minutes before getting back in his truck and driving away. Daniel called the police within the hour. Officer Mitchell ran Boone's background. Found 2 animal cruelty complaints from 2019 and 2021. Both dismissed for lack of evidence. Found debt $4,800 to an online betting site. Got a warrant for internet searches. Found activity from November 4th, the day before Boone showed up at the clinic. How much trained German Shepherd's worth? Guard dog prices Portland. Breeding rights purebred. Mitchell brought everything to Nathan. Nathan called Emma that afternoon. We've got motive. He's not trying to get back beloved pets. He's trying to reclaim inventory he can sell. November 18th, 9 in the morning. Multnomah County Courthouse smelled like floor wax and old wood and the particular mustiness of buildings that had seen too much human trouble. Courtroom C. 20 wooden seats. Half of them filled with folks who'd followed the story. Margaret Hayes in the second row with her church purse. Sarah from the clinic, Claire Bennett. 2 reporters with notepads. Judge Evelyn Wright presiding, 58, former prosecutor, known for being fair but firm. Boone sat with his public defender, young man who looked tired already and court hadn't even started. Boone had put on a clean shirt, covered his tattoos, playing a part. Nathan presented first. The medical timeline, photos of scars and malnutrition and that kidney stone sitting in its tray like evidence of suffering made solid. Margaret took the stand, cried while describing those sounds she'd heard through her bedroom window on cold nights. I should have done more, Margaret said, voice breaking. Should have broken down that fence myself. Officer Mitchell testified about the surveillance footage, about the internet searches, about ads Boone had posted on Craigslist. Posted November 4th. Mitchell said, before he'd even laid eyes on those dogs again, 2 separate ads. Trained German Shepherds, proven guard dogs, $2,500 each, serious buyers only. The courtroom went quiet as Sunday morning. Nathan called Emma to stand. She walked up on legs that felt like they belonged to someone else. Sat in the wooden chair that was older than she was. Put her hand on the Bible for the oath and felt the leather worn smooth by thousands of hands before hers. Nathan asked, Mrs. Rodriguez, why do you want these dogs? Emma looked at Boone, at that smirk playing around his mouth like this was all just mildly amusing. I don't want them, she said quiet. I love them. Can you explain the difference? Want is selfish. It's about what they give me. Love is about what they need, what they deserve after everything they've been through. Her voice started to crack. They chose us. We chose them. Please don't send them back to that place. Judge Wright's pen stopped moving across paper. Boone's lawyer stood. Objection? That's emotional appeal, not legal argument. Overruled. Judge Wright said, Mrs. Rodriguez, continue. But Emma had run out of words that mattered. Judge Wright called for a 30-minute recess. Emma sat in the hallway on a wooden bench worn smooth by waiting. Daniel beside her, Lily between them, swinging her legs because they didn't quite reach the floor yet. All three of them staring at the opposite wall, waiting for a stranger in a black robe to decide whether love counted for anything when measured against receipts and property law. The courtroom door opened. All rise. Judge Wright returned, arranged her papers just so, looked at Emma, then Boone, then at all that evidence spread before her. I've reached my decision, she said. Emma's lungs forgot how to work. And in that breath before Judge Wright spoke, Emma understood everything hung on this moment. Lily's laughter, Luna's trust, Stella's second chance, the family they'd become, all of it balanced on whatever words came next. Judge Wright's voice cut through the silence like a knife through warm butter. This court awards temporary custody of Luna and Stella to Emma and Daniel Rodriguez for a period of 90 days. Emma's chest lifted one breath in before the rest landed. Mr. Boone, you are required to complete a 40-hour animal welfare course through an accredited program. Upon completion, you must pass a home inspection conducted by Oregon Humane Society. After these conditions are met, we will reconvene on February 16th to determine permanent placement. The air left Emma's lungs. 90 days. Not forever. Not safe. Just 90 days. Nathan leaned close, his sleeve brushing hers. It's the best outcome we could hope for without a criminal conviction. She's giving us time. But Emma heard what he wasn't saying. They still belonged to Boone. On paper. In the eyes of the law. Boone stood, buttoned his shirt, the clean one he'd worn for show, turned to Emma on his way out, keys jingling in his hand. 90 days, he said, smiled like he knew a secret. Enjoy my dogs while you can. The hallway outside smelled like lemon furniture polish and burnt coffee from a pot that had been sitting too long. Emma leaned against the wall, Daniel's hand on her shoulder, but she couldn't feel it through the numbness spreading from her chest outward. In her head, a countdown had already started. 90 days. 89. 88. February 16th, circled in red on a calendar that didn't exist yet but lived in her mind, clear as anything. In the car, Lily asked from the back seat, "Do Luna and Stella have to leave?" Emma opened her mouth. Nothing came out. Daniel's knuckles went white on the steering wheel. "Not if we can help it, sweetheart." The word "if" hung there between them like smoke that wouldn't clear. November 19th through 21st blurred together. Emma couldn't sleep. Lay in bed staring at ceiling cracks that looked like rivers on a map to nowhere. 3 hours the first night. 2 the second. Maybe 45 minutes the third. And those came in 15-minute pieces that didn't count as rest. During the day, she taught multiplication tables and state capitals, while her mind ran different calculations. 90 days minus 3 equals 87. 87 days until someone might rip Luna and Stella from Lily's arms. At home, the dogs healed. Luna running full circles in the backyard, grass wet under her paws, Stella limping after her but trying, stitches holding clean where Daniel checked them every night. Both eating regular now, Luna no longer starving herself. Both bowls emptying at the same pace. Lily sleeping through the night, No nightmares. No 3 a.m. crying that made no sound. Just peaceful rest with two warm bodies on the floor beside her bed. But Emma saw the end of everything. Luna sleeping in Lily's room, 86 days left. Stella following Emma through the house while she did laundry, 85 days left. Both dogs playing tug with an old rope toy, 84 days left. She documented everything. Photos with dates written on the back. Videos of Lily laughing, speaking full sentences, being 5 years old again instead of a ghost in a purple nightgown. Building evidence. Proof. Things to show a judge in February. But evidence hadn't been enough in November. Why would February be different? November 22nd. 3:17 in the morning. Emma woke, gasping. Sheet twisted around her legs. Sweat soaking through her nightgown despite the November cold. The nightmare still fresh, Boone dragging Luna and Stella into that chain-link kennel. Choke chains cutting off air. Stella screaming that high. Terrible sound. The gate slamming. Padlock clicking shut. And Emma outside the fence. Fingers wrapped in chain link, pulling until her palms bled, but the fence wouldn't give, and her voice wouldn't work, and Daniel's hand on her shoulder. Solid. Warm. Real. You're all right. Breathe. She tried. Her lungs had forgotten the sequence. Air in. Hold. Air out. Simple in theory. Impossible in practice. Daniel sat up. Turned on the lamp, the one they'd bought at an estate sale. Brass base with a cream shade that gave soft light. Talk to me. Emma's mouth opened. Closed. Opened again. I can't do this again. The words stuck in her throat like food gone down wrong. Do what? Lose someone I love because I'm not strong enough to protect them. Daniel went still. The kind of still that meant he knew something important was coming. What are you really saying, Em? And she told him. All of it. The parts she'd kept locked for 30 years, spilling out in pieces that cut on the way up. Their father coming home with whiskey breath and heavy fists. Sophie 3 years younger. So much smaller. Emma standing between them night after night. Taking blows meant for her baby sister. The closet where Emma would lock Sophie inside during the worst of it. Her own back pressed against the door so he couldn't get in. Sophie's small hands pushing from the other side, wanting to help, wanting to protect Emma the way Emma protected her. Their mother leaving when Emma was 10. Just gone one Tuesday morning. Took nothing. Left no note. Chose herself over her daughters. Emma getting a scholarship to University of Oregon, leaving at 18 for college. Thinking Sophie would be safe for 2 more years until she graduated. Being wrong about that. Sophie at 16 with a boyfriend who had a car and fake courage from a bottle. Running from their father's rage at 1 in the morning. Route 26. Telephone pole. Both dead before the ambulance arrived. I was in a dorm room studying for finals, Emma said. Her voice flat as Kansas. Safe in bed while she was dying on that road. I couldn't save her. I wasn't there when it mattered. Daniel's face had gone pale in the lamplight. You told me your father was difficult. He said quiet. You never said I couldn't. Emma looked at her hands. They shook like leaves in October wind. Because saying it out loud makes it real. Makes it something I have to carry every single day for the rest of my life. Her throat closed. Daniel pulled her against his chest. She felt his heart beat through his t-shirt steady where hers hammered like it was trying to escape. I'm not a child anymore, Emma whispered. And I still can't save them. Law says they're property. Boone owns them. In 86 days. You're not alone this time. But alone or together. What difference did that make against property law and receipts that proved ownership? Emma pulled away. Stood on legs that barely held her. Walked downstairs in bare feet. November cold rising through floorboards. Found Lily asleep between the dog beds in the living room. Luna's head rested on Lily's stomach, rising and falling with each small breath. Stella curled against Lily's back, protective. The way Luna protected Stella. The way Emma had tried to protect Sophie. Both dogs' eyes opened when Emma approached. Watching. Waiting to see if this human meant safety or danger. Emma knelt on carpet that still held the day's warmth from the heating vents. She hasn't slept through the night in 6 months. But with them. Daniel had followed her down. They're saving her. Just like we're saving them. Emma's voice cracked clean through. But for how long? She thought about Sophie. About love not being enough to prevent loss. About standing between someone and harm and failing anyway. About how February 16th hung over everything like a blade waiting to fall. We document everything between now and then, Daniel said. Every moment, every bit of progress. Show the judge these aren't his property, they're family. And if that's not enough. Daniel didn't answer. Because they both knew sometimes love loses to law. Sometimes receipts matter more than hearts. Emma's phone buzzed against the coffee table. Text message. 3:42 a.m. Nathan Cross. Call when you wake. Need to discuss strategy. Strategy. Like they were preparing for war. Emma looked at Lily sleeping peaceful between 2 dogs who'd survived starvation and chains. At Daniel kneeling beside her. Exhaustion written in the lines around his eyes. At Luna and Stella, watching her with eyes that had learned to hope again. They were preparing for war. In 86 days, someone would try to tear this family apart. Emma had 86 days to make sure that didn't happen. Or learn to live with another loved one being taken while she stood helpless. She reached for her phone to call Nathan, but before she could dial, headlights swept across the living room window. A truck in the driveway. At 3:45 in the morning, Emma's blood went cold. She recognized that truck, rust on the wheel wells, dented passenger door, Travis Boone's pickup, idling in front of her house. In the middle of the night, while her daughter slept inside, Emma's hand found her phone. Dialed 911 before thought caught up with action. The truck sat in the driveway. Engine running, headlights off. Just the orange glow of a cigarette inside the cab burning bright. Fading. Burning bright again. Daniel moved toward the window. Stay with Lily. Don't go out there. But he was already at the front door, hand on the deadbolt. Emma caught his arm. He's got 90 days of legal access. You confront him now. We lose everything. The 911 operator's voice came through the phone speaker. What's your emergency? Someone's sitting in my driveway. It's 3:47 in the morning. Won't leave. She gave the address. Stayed on the line while her heart hammered against her ribs. Through the window, Boone's shadow. Just sitting there, watching their house like he had every right. That cigarette made 4 more trips to his mouth before sirens wailed in the distance. The truck's engine revved. Headlights flicked on. Boone backed out slow, taking his time because the law said he could. Officer Mitchell arrived 6 minutes later. Took Emma's statement on the front porch while cold air raised goosebumps on her arms, and Daniel stood in the doorway, jaw clenched tight enough to crack teeth. Did he make contact? Any threats? No, sir. Just sat there watching. How long? 8 minutes. Maybe 9. Mitchell wrote it in his notepad. I'll add this to his file. But sitting in a driveway isn't against the law. At 3 in the morning. Still not illegal, ma'am. He closed his notepad. Get yourself a security camera. Document everything. If he comes back, call us right away. After Mitchell left, Emma couldn't go back to sleep. She sat at the kitchen table until sunrise painted the sky gray. Made lists in her teacher's planner dates, times, every detail from the past 3 weeks. But the count in her head kept running. 85 days, 84, 83, December 1st, 9:23 in the morning. Nathan Cross's computer pinged. New email from an address that was just random numbers and letters the kind folks used when they didn't want to be found. Subject line: Travis Boone. Check Unit 847. Body text: Hemlock Industrial Storage. He's got more. Nothing else. No signature. No return path. Nathan stared at his screen for a full minute, then forwarded it to Claire Bennett with one word: urgent. Claire called back within the hour. I can get a warrant. Judge Maloney's a friend. Give me 2 days. December 2nd, 4 in the afternoon. Judge Maloney signed the search warrant for Unit 847 at Hemlock Industrial Storage, registered to Travis Eugene Boone. December 3rd, 6 in the morning. 3 police cruisers, Claire's white OHS van, animal control truck with empty cages rattling in back. The storage facility sat on the ugly edge of town where businesses went to die. Chain link fence, rolling metal doors painted rust red. Security cameras that probably hadn't worked since the Clinton administration. Unit 847, second row, 4th door from the end. Officer Mitchell cut the padlock with bolt cutters. The sound echoed across empty pavement too early for regular customers. Just them and whatever waited inside. The door rolled up with a screech of metal on metal. Smell hit first. Urine and feces and unwashed fur and infection, the concentrated stench of suffering locked in a 10 by 15 box. Then sounds. Whimpering. Claws scraping metal. Bodies shifting in spaces too small for turning around. Claire stepped inside. Flashlight cutting through darkness. 8 wire crates stacked against the back wall. 2 high, 4 across. 8 dogs. Rottweilers. Pit bulls. A German Shepherd mix. A Doberman. A mutt that might have had Mastiff blood somewhere back. All of them ribs showing, coats dull, eyes tracking movement with the wariness of creatures who'd stopped expecting rescue. No water in the crates. Bowls bone dry. Temperature inside 38 degrees. The space heater in the corner unplugged. Cord wrapped around it like a dead snake. Claire opened the first crate. The Rottweiler inside male. Maybe 3 years old, pressed against the back. Didn't growl. Didn't bark. Just watched with eyes that had given up everything, including hope. Officer Mitchell photographed it all. The crates. The dogs. The filing cabinet shoved in the corner, covered in dust and old coffee rings. The filing cabinet wasn't locked. Mitchell pulled open the top drawer. Breeding records. Dates and names and litter sizes. Going back 4 years, a ledger in the second drawer, handwritten numbers. Revenue from puppy sales $47,000 between 2022 and 2024. And there in a manila folder marked disposed files for Luna and Stella. Claire pulled them with gloved hands. Luna's record showed 3 breeding dates. June 2024 had a note in red ink. Placenta complications, no longer viable. Dispose. Stella's record showed 2 breedings. March 2024. Severe infection post-whelp. Discontinued. Dispose by end September. Dispose. Like they were broken appliances. Trash to be hauled away. The bottom drawer held printed emails. Correspondence about aggressive training and fighting prospects that made Claire's stomach turn. By 7:30, all 8 dogs were loaded into animal control. The filing cabinet contents bagged as evidence. The unit sealed with yellow tape. By 9, Travis Boone was in handcuffs at Discount Auto. His boss standing there slack-jawed while officers read him his rights. 12 counts animal cruelty, 4 counts illegal breeding, 1 count conspiracy to engage in animal fighting. Bail set at $50,000. An amount Boone $4,800 in debt. Working for $18 an hour couldn't touch. December 4th, 11 in the morning. Nathan called Emma at school. She stepped into the hallway while her class worked on cursive practice. "He's in jail." Nathan's voice carried relief like a weight lifted. "Bail's $50,000. He can't make it." Emma's legs went soft. She leaned against the hallway wall covered in student artwork. "What about February?" "Hearings canceled. DA's filing to terminate his ownership permanently. Criminal charges override civil custody." Emma's hand went to her mouth. "Mrs. Rodriguez, you there? Are you saying—" Her voice came out thin as paper. "Are you saying they're ours? Start the adoption paperwork. I'll push it through fast as I can." The line went dead. Emma stood in that hallway, stared at nothing while children's voices drifted through the door, innocent and happy, and unaware that somewhere, somehow, the Lord had seen fit to answer a prayer she'd been too afraid to speak out loud. December 8th, Claire's office, conference table, Emma and Daniel on one side, Nathan and Claire on the other. Claire spread files across the table, everything from Unit 847. "This is what we found," she said, then walked them through it piece by piece. Luna and Stella purchased as puppies. $1,200 each from a licensed breeder in Washington. June 2022. Bred repeatedly. Luna 3 times, Stella twice. Puppies sold for anywhere from $800 to $1,500 each, until their bodies gave out. Luna's complications in June. Stella's infection in March. Boone's note from September 15th. Both useless now, too expensive to fix. Dispose by end of month. 5 days later, September 20th, neighbors saw 2 German shepherds running loose. Luna and Stella had escaped through broken fence. Survived 27 days on the streets before Emma found them. Claire slid another paper across. The anonymous tip came from Margaret Hayes, your neighbor. She'd been documenting his operation for months. When she saw the court coverage, she sent the information. Emma stared at the breeding records, at the dates written in blue ink. Stella's last litter March 15th, 2024. Puppies sold at 6 weeks late April. Her mind made a connection that stopped her breath cold. She pulled out her phone, found her calendar, the date marked in red because it changed everything. April 28th, 2024. The day Lily stopped speaking. The same week Stella's babies were taken. "What's wrong?" Daniel asked. Emma's throat went tight. When Lily lost her voice, Stella was losing her babies. Daniel went still. And Luna was watching her sister break apart. Emma continued. "The same week our daughter was breaking. The same week, different kinds of trauma but the same terrible timing. They were healing together." Emma said quiet. Lily and Stella, both learning to trust again, both finding their voices. She thought about Lily whispering to Stella after surgery, about Luna licking Lily's tears, about broken creatures finding each other and somehow against all odds becoming whole. Nathan gathered the files. "I'll submit these with your adoption petition. Judge Wright will sign it. No question." That night, Emma pulled out a journal she'd bought years ago but never used. The leather cover soft under her fingers. The pages still blank and full of possibility. She wrote, December 8th, 2024. We didn't save them. We found each other in the wreckage. And somehow that was enough. But even as she wrote it, a whisper of doubt remained. Because Emma had learned the hard way that nothing stayed saved. That safety was temporary. That the people you loved could vanish in an instant. And as she watched Lily sleeping with Luna and Stella, she couldn't shake the feeling that one more test was coming. Something she hadn't seen yet. Something that would prove whether this fragile, beautiful thing they'd built could actually last. January 15th, 2026, 10 in the morning, Multnomah County Courthouse. Same building, same courtroom, same judge. But everything different now. Emma sat front row with Daniel on her left, Lily on her right. Luna and Stella lay on the floor near their feet. Judge Evelyn Wright had granted special permission for the dogs to attend their own adoption hearing. The gallery held 15 people. Margaret Hayes in the second row, handkerchief folded in her lap. Nathan Cross and Claire Bennett near the back. Sarah from the clinic. Officer Mitchell. 2 reporters with notebooks that smelled like newsprint and coffee. Judge Wright entered. Everyone stood. The formalities took 4 minutes, Nathan presenting papers. The judge reviewing documents spread across her bench like a hand of cards. In the matter of Luna Rodriguez and Stella Rodriguez, Emma's throat closed. First time hearing them with the family name. Legal. Official. Permanent. Judge Wright continued reading. Standard language about lifetime care and legal responsibilities. Then she looked up over her reading glasses. Mr. and Mrs. Rodriguez, do you commit to providing lifetime care for Luna and Stella? Emma and Daniel stood, spoke together. We do. Lily tugged Emma's sleeve. Emma looked down at her daughter, 6 years old now, reading chapter books. No trace of that silent child who'd existed just months ago. Lily stood between her parents. Me too. Judge Wright's mouth curved soft. Let the record show the entire Rodriguez family commits. Luna's tail swept once across the courtroom floor. Motion granted, Judge Wright said. Luna and Stella Rodriguez are now legally and permanently part of your family. The gavel came down with a sound like a door closing on the past. Emma's knees went weak. Daniel's arm circled her waist, held her steady. In the hallway afterward, Margaret approached, eyes red but smiling. I wish I'd done more, Margaret said. Sooner. Emma hugged her, felt the older woman's thin shoulders, the trembling that came from carrying guilt too long. You did what mattered when it counted, Emma said. That's enough. Outside, winter sun broke through Oregon clouds. The air smelled like rain that had passed and spring that was coming. Emma lifted her face to the light, whispered 2 words too quiet for anyone but the Lord to hear. Thank you. March 6th. Travis Boone stood before a different judge in a different courtroom. Orange jumpsuit, hands cuffed. Public defender beside him looking like he'd rather be anywhere else. The plea deal had been signed. Guilty to 8 counts cruelty, 3 counts illegal breeding. 5 years. Oregon State Penitentiary. $25,000 fine. Lifetime ban on owning animals. Before sentencing, the judge asked if anyone wished to speak. Emma stood, walked to the podium. Hands steady now. Luna and Stella were never just dogs, she said, looking straight at Boone, his face blank as wall paint. They're sisters. Survivors. You tried to break them. You failed. She paused. Let the silence settle. Love is stronger than cruelty. Every single time. She sat down, The judge leaned forward. "Mr. Boone, anything to say?" Boone shrugged. "They were just dogs. Folks spend more on their cars." Silence filled the courtroom like water rising. The judge's jaw tightened. Sentence stands 5 years, no early release. March 20th, 2027. 1 year later. The converted barn sat on the back 3 acres. Fresh painted red with white trim. Split rail fence surrounding it. 2 acres of grass where dogs could run free under Oregon sky. Sign above the door, Luna House, where second chances come home. Below it, 2 German shepherd silhouettes. Foreheads touching. Grand opening brought 200 people. Neighbors Emma knew from church. Supporters who'd followed the story. Local press with cameras. Families who understood that sometimes broken things could heal if given time and love and patience. Margaret cut the ribbon with scissors bigger than her hands. White hair shining in afternoon sun. Inside room for 12 dogs. 6 there now, all former cruelty cases, learning that hands could be gentle, that food came regular, that tomorrow might actually be better than today. Lily, 6 years old, confident. Her voice strong and sure, gave tours to children who asked questions faster than she could answer. She showed them Luna and Stella in the main yard. Both healthy now, coats shining like they'd been brushed with sunlight. Stella's limp barely there. Luna's protective instincts focused on the newer rescues who still flinched at sudden movements. A boy asked, "Aren't you scared of big dogs?" Lily shook her head, purple ribbon in her hair catching light. "Sometimes I get scared of other things, but being scared and being brave can happen at the same time." The boy frowned. "How do you know?" "Luna taught me. Evening. 7:30. Guests gone home." Emma sat on porch steps, still warm from the day's sun. Luna on her left, Stella on her right. Both dogs calm as Sunday morning. Content in a way that came from knowing, finally knowing they were home for good. Lily in Emma's lap, getting heavier but still small enough to fit. The weight of her solid and real and everything that mattered. Daniel brought lemonade in mason jars, ice clinking soft. Sat beside Emma, his shoulder touching hers the way it had for 4 years now and would, God willing, for 40 more. In the yard, 6 rescue dogs played under volunteer watch, learning that humans could be safe, that tomorrow wasn't something to fear. Emma pulled out her phone, found the photo from October 17th, 2025. Luna and Stella pressed together in that alley, rain-soaked, starving, eyes holding more fear than any creature should ever carry. She showed it to Lily. "They were so scared," Lily said quiet. "They were, but not anymore." "No, baby. Not anymore." Luna licked Emma's wrist. The same gesture from that first night. Trust given and received and held safe. Stella's head rested heavy on Emma's knee. Warm weight. Steady breathing. The simple miracle of being alive and well. Daniel's arm circled Emma's shoulders. "What are you thinking about?" Emma watched the dogs in the yard. Watched Luna and Stella peaceful beside her. Watched Lily's chest rise and fall in the safety of a home where voices mattered, and love was something you could count on. She thought about Sophie, about closets and fear and loss that had carved holes she'd thought would never fill. "Sophie," Emma said, the name easier now. "I think she'd be proud of this." First time in 10 years she'd spoken it without feeling like she was drowning. Daniel kissed her temple. She would be. "I'm certain of it." The sun hung low, painting everything gold, Birds called from the oak tree Daniel's grandfather had planted 50 years back. From the Johnsons' place next door came the smell of bread baking and the sound of laughter, life continuing its ordinary, extraordinary way. Lily stirred. "Mama, can I sleep with Luna and Stella tonight? Every night. Sweetheart. Every single night." Because they had every night now. No countdown. No end date. No sword hanging over their heads. Just night after night after night of being together. Of being safe. Of being, Emma let herself think the word blessed. The evening air smelled like cut grass and the roses Margaret had helped plant along the fence, and something sweet on the wind that might have been honeysuckle from down by the creek. Emma looked at Luna and Stella, at these two souls who'd once begged for mercy in the rain, who'd survived what should have broken them, who'd chosen each other and then chosen this family. She saw them now fed, healed, loved, no longer begging, no longer afraid. Finally, after everything, after the fear and the fighting and the nights when hope seemed like a fool's dream home. And in that moment, with the sun setting gentle and her family gathered close, and the future stretching out like a promise worth keeping, Emma understood something she'd forgotten in all those years of carrying grief. Sometimes the broken places are where the light gets in. Sometimes the things you think will destroy you become the things that save you. And sometimes, not always, but sometimes, love really is enough. The end. I need to tell you something before we part ways. Friend, when I started writing about Luna and Stella, I thought I was telling their story. But somewhere between that rainy October night and the barn with its second chances, I realized I was telling ours too. Every one of us carries someone we couldn't save. A sister. A child. A version of ourselves that got lost along the way. We stand in closets with our backs pressed against doors. Or we stop speaking because some sights are too terrible for words. Or we huddle in alleys waiting for kindness that might never come. Emma found Luna and Stella because she recognized their fear. Lily found her voice because she saw sisters who wouldn't let go. And maybe if we're blessed, we find each other in the wreckage, not to fix what's broken, but to sit with it, to say, I see you, I understand, me too. That's all healing ever is. Recognition. Patience. The courage to try again when every instinct says to protect yourself by staying closed. Thank you for sitting with this story, for letting these broken pieces mean something. May you find your own second chances. Author's note. This story is a work of fiction inspired by real experiences of animal rescue and family healing, created solely for entertainment purposes. It does not condone, encourage, or promote any form of violence, animal cruelty, child abuse, domestic violence, or harmful behavior toward animals or people. All characters, names, events, and locations are products of the author's imagination. Any resemblance to actual persons, living or deceased, or actual events is purely coincidental. The medical procedures, legal proceedings, and timelines described have been dramatized for narrative purposes. If you or someone you know is experiencing domestic violence, child abuse, or witnessing animal cruelty, please contact local authorities or support organizations for help.